I only have a couple minutes, but I really wanted to show you guys what the garden looks like now. It's been a month and things have really took off, especially when we had about a week or so straight of rain. But those are the tomatillos. They're about 3 feet tall now. I plugged in some basil. I transplanted it. They were volunteers from another spot in the garden, and then I tucked in some nasturtiums. My perennial bed's looking good. I have dill. Looks like I'm gonna get my first dill flower. And then my lone kajari plant's doing awesome. It's finally made its way up the trellis and doesn't need my help. Crazy story though. I had a beautiful chives plant that was established and it had big giant purple flowers on it, and something came and took it. I know that sounds crazy, but the first day, or I first noticed there was like a little small hole beside it, and I looked online and it said it was most likely a squirrel. And then 2 or 3 days later I came back, the whole plant was gone. The whole plant. And online it said usually that means a vole either pulled it down, but when I put my hand in I could feel the bottom, or that it was a rabbit. But the garden is fully fenced in, even in hardware cloth in some areas, so it had to be a squirrel, which is insane. But my beautiful chive plant is gone, so, but I did harvest what heads I found in the bed and save some seeds, so hopefully I can just replant it. Over here, the cherry tomatoes are, I don't know, 4 feet tall. They're looking super healthy. The corn and melon bed is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. I'm so thankful it is growing out of the bed. I started those first, and then about a week later I started, maybe 2 weeks later, I started the corn seeds so that the melons could have a head start. I want them to come out of here, and then I'm going to trellis them along this fence. I put watermelons on the fence last year and that worked out really well, so I want to do that with these cantaloupes. I have the 3 Roma tomatoes over here, and they are already starting to produce. All of my slicing tomatoes and cherry tomatoes are here. They are looking great. I have stopped pruning or stopped cutting the suckers. At this point I'm just letting them do their thing. I don't really mind if I have lots of smaller tomatoes, because for these tomatoes, I really just like to eat them fresh. The Roma tomatoes I'm growing are for the purpose of storing and making sauce and spaghetti sauce and salsa. So I am totally fine if I end up with smaller slicing tomatoes. But I know these are all really great tasting tomatoes, and that's what matters to me as far as eating fresh. Here's one of my 2 calendula. I love this plant. It's so big, but unfortunately, like 2 weeks ago, it was totally covered in army worms. There are holes all over the plant. There are holes in the flowers. I don't know if I have any flower I can show you with holes in it. Let's see. Yep, holes in the flowers. So I sprayed the whole thing with BT. I need to spray copper fungicide because it is covered in rust as well. So it needs some help. Hopefully spraying the copper fungicide will help it kind of like start all over again and send up a new flush. My beans are doing great. On this end I have this, is this the strike or the jade? The strike beans. In the middle I have Jacob's cattle bean, which are new to me. I really just grew them because I love the name. They're a spotted bean and they're called Jacob's cattle bean. So if you are familiar with the biblical story of Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, and how he purposefully, I guess, made spotted and not so attractive looking cattle so that he could take them with him or claim them. So I really just grew them for that purpose because I thought that was pretty cool. And then at the very bottom is the jade. And I think Jess from Roots and Refuge said those were one of her favorites, either Jess or Becky from Acre Homestead. But all of them are producing. The Jacob's cattle bean are, I think, a drying bean. They're a little more meaty, but the jade and the strike They're your typical French green bean. My cut flower bed's been great. I just recently harvested a ton of these snapdragons, so there's a lot of bare stems down there, but you can kind of see it's putting on again. This white dill has been lovely in flower arrangements. The only downside is when it starts to, when it's been in a vase for a few days, it starts to drop this white powdery stuff and it gets all over the table. Actually, you can see it right here. So that's not ideal, but it's still a wonderful filler. And then down here is the Pampas Plume Celosia. This is really pretty. Honestly, the foliage itself is beautiful. I have this orangey color, but I think my favorite is this fuchsia. It's almost unreal. It's just a beautiful color. The spaghetti squash is crazy. I need to cut some of these extra runaways. I don't know what the right word is for them, but I don't need quite so many. Just like this one down here. There's tons and tons already, so I don't think I need every single runner to grow. So I'm going to cut some of those. And I realize I don't have any male flowers that are ready, so I think I'm going to harvest all of these females and just eat them before they shrivel up and fall off. Over here, Swiss chard that I need to harvest and eat. Bells of Ireland. As far as a cut flower, I'm disappointed they're not taller. They're kind of short. Like when you cut it down here, it's not that tall in a vase, so it has to be used in a shorter vase. So that's not my favorite, but I do still think they're really cool looking. More Swiss chard, Canterbury bells, Swiss chard, eucalyptus. I've smells so good. Kind of given up on hoping these will get really big this year. I think it's too hot, but I do plan on cutting it and putting it in the shower just to smell it since I have it. I don't know, I'll have to figure out or plan better for next year to see when I need to get it in the ground so that it's much bigger. The Lisianthus I planted are finally taking off. They're getting some height on them. I think there's a terracotta and then a lavender. But I didn't think they were going to do much of anything, but they are actually starting to grow now. More of this beautiful Pampas Plume. Some zinnia. I did spray them with copper fungicide as well because I noticed some rust on, I think this one. Yeah. But I am already getting squash, so I'm super excited about that. I have been using masking tape to get squash vine borer eggs off the plant. There's actually a piece of masking tape left over so you can see. Huh? Okay, thank you for letting me know. Sorry. Those are all eggs that I got off with masking tape. I need to throw that away. And then there are some Black Beauty zucchini. So soon, well, I'll let this get bigger and then I'll harvest it maybe tomorrow or the next day. Then over here, I planted some sunflowers. They're just starting to come up. These are short stuff sunflowers from Baker Creek. And then I also planted some Burt's Hybrid sunflowers. They haven't come up yet. And at the end of the row, the sweet potato vine is really starting to take off. And that was a gift from a coworker of mine. Then this last row are melons. I have Early Girl, Sugar Baby, Yellow Buttercup that I just replanted because it did not pop up. Yellow Buttercup that did pop up. This pollinator, another pollinator plant, and then there's a Charleston Gray that's yeah, this one is a Charleston Gray. And then I replanted another Charleston Gray because it didn't pop up. So Once this row grows, I will trellis it up onto those green little mesh nets and string them up, and then we have this for the melons. That worked out really well last year. Last but not least, the pepper bed. Now it was really hot today, so the peppers are looking pretty sad, but they just need some water. Otherwise they're actually doing pretty good. I think the shishitos and shishimides are down here. What else do we have? Yeah, shishito. There's some Jimmy Nardello. No, actually no Jimmy Nardellos. There's Big Jim. They didn't do Jimmy Nardellos this year. They didn't steal my heart. They're kind of seedy. And then we have, I think, Purple Beauty, Corno de Toro, Ajvarsky, and Lesia. And these are the beans that I kind of tucked in as a last minute way to get rid of some seeds, and I'm glad I did, because now I'll have a succession of not only those beans over there, but these beans, and then after these I'll have the beans in this terracotta green stalk that's kind of spread out right now. These, the slugs and what do you call it, pill bugs, just ate them as soon as they popped up. They kept eating them, and so I've been replanting them. Finally just put some Sluggo on them, and now they're coming up, so that'll be nice. So I'll have those kind of like, I guess these will be like the third succession, I guess. And then I think once I harvest, I don't know, I usually harvest twice on my bush beans. There's one big flush, then they kind of take a week or two, and then they put on another big flush, and then I get rid of them. So we'll see what I feel like doing by the time that happens. If I'll put more beans or figure something else out to go into these green stalks. My other 3 that are on the deck, those have the peppers and eggplants, and those do phenomenal in the green stalk. Now, last, get past all this mess, that's real life, is this, wow, can't find my words right now, okra. Planted 1 okra in this big old pot along with some Swiss chard, which I need to eat, but the aphids have been tearing it up. Now I have aphids, which means I have ants, and the ladybugs won't come if the ants are taking over. I just sprayed it not too long ago, so there are not too many aphids under it right now, but I need to get rid of the ants with those little plastic stakes, because I like those. They work really well, and I don't have to sprinkle anything inside of my bed. And then once the ants are gone, then the ladybugs will come and eat all the aphids and take care of everything. You can kind of see under here all those aphids on this plant as well. So I need to hose this down with a power setting on the sprayer. But that's pretty much it for the garden. So about 30 days and a huge difference, especially when it comes to the squash. So I guess I will record again in another couple weeks.